How you doing, everyone? It's Kevin back with another video. I just kind of wanted to keep you guys, just give you a little update on the new 2x72-inch grinder. I've been trying to line up the wheels and trying to work on a switch, and I did have, maybe you guys could give me a little hand on some of it. So I'm going to post this video to see what your suggestions are. Now, somebody mentioned to me on there, one of my viewers mentioned that I should have a variable speed on this thing. Well, I had already picked up the switch and everything and was getting ready to put it on, and I'm like, you know what, I think he might be right. But man, I don't know what kind of variable speed controller or what I would need. I don't want to spend a fortune on it. I mean, I'd like to get something affordable if I could get it in variable speed so I could change this motor. And this is a Harbor Freight motor here. And I didn't know if I could even put a variable speed on it. So that's kind of like where I'm kind of stuck in between, because I'm not sure that the motor, I can use variable speed on this motor. It's, what the heck is the name of it? It's a Smith & Jones 1.5 horsepower motor. So like there's why I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck between trying to find out if I can put variable speed on this motor and what type of affordable switch I could get for it. So I figured I'd do a little video on this thing, and maybe you guys could give me a hand. It's so much better when I have hundreds of people looking up ideas on this than it is for me to do it just by myself. And as you guys know, I'm not great with the computer anyhow. So I'm going to show you what I have and what I'm up to on this thing, and it's sure looking good. And this thing is a beast. I think this is going to be a really good grinder. You guys remember I changed the rod out in here. Instead of using the cable, I'm using a dowel now in there, and it's welded, so that's pretty nice. I'm having just a little bit of trouble lining up this motor, all these wheels together, and but I'm going to work on that just a little bit. Let me show you the switch that I've gotten. Okay, this is the switch that I had bought, and it's just a flip switch. I put a piece of 1/2-inch black iron pipe in here, and what I was going to do is I was just basically going to cut a hole through here and weld it on. Weld this pipe right to it and then fish my wire up. Then I'd have a nice on and off switch for this machine. As you know, the other 2x72-inch grinder we made already had a switch because we used the motor off of a table saw. So this one here didn't have any switch. There's no wiring to it. I got to wire everything and wire up the switch. Now, I would like to have the variable speed. Now that, somebody said on there, you got different types of material, you may want that variable speed, and I'm thinking, yeah, I may want that. So if you guys could give me a hand on helping me out with a variable speed, whatever they're called, switch or whatever, and that would be appreciated. But I need something affordable. I don't want to pay $100 for a switch. I thought, a dimmer switch, but I don't think their amps are high enough. Now this one here, I think this is 20 amp. I'm not sure here, but it is a 1.5 horsepower Smith & Jones Harbor Freight motor. I know it can go clockwise and counterclockwise. I just don't know about the variable speed. So that's, like I said, this is the switch that I've got now. If I could find some way of putting the variable speed on there, would be pretty cool. So like I said, today what I'm doing is I'm working on the belts here, and you know what, I've heard of other guys having problems with this too, and I'm having a lot of troubles with this one. I didn't have as much with the other one as I did this one, but I think it's all in learning how this needs to be set up. Now I notice my belt is further away here than it is up here, and I just don't understand it. These are both exactly the same, but I think it has something to do with that rear motor. I'm not sure. I think it does. So I'm gonna try to mess around with these wheels a little bit. Now I know the adjustment here works great, but I'm looking at the back and it's off center here. I think this motor needs twisted, so I'm going to work on this a little bit and see what I can do with it. Now I do know that a lot of people are having trouble with this because I see them talking about it on my videos of the first grinder. So now my bottom was out a little too far on this wheel, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try pulling this wheel back. And trust me, I don't know if this will work. I'm just doing it. I'm trying to get it more lined up. So this pulley, instead of this belt running on that outside, instead of shoving the motor in, I'm going to actually tilt the motor back just a little bit. And like I said, I don't know if it'll work, but I'm just trying everything just like you guys are. So if anybody's got any good information, if you could leave it down in the comments on lining these belts up, would be appreciated. I think everybody would appreciate it. So, and you know this thing, you gotta loosen the motor and tighten it, loosen it and tighten it. It's a lot of work just to get it lined up. And then when you go to paint the daggone thing, guess what? You gotta tear it all back apart and do it over again. So I moved that motor back just a little bit. Now I got my adjustment on my, no, that wheel there is loose, so I'm gonna go ahead and get him tightened up. I don't know why that was loose. I must not have tightened it. That could be a big problem too. So let me get that one snugged up here. Okay. I'm going to see if that might have helped me out a little bit without moving the motor back and forth. Let me give you guys a view of what I'm doing here. So I can line you up. You know, that might have been my problem on that thing because it's running pretty. You know, I don't have this motor set up to run yet, but I wish I did. I'm a little bit closer than where I was, but I think these wheels, you know, having them all straight back and forth this way has a lot to do with it. And you know, when you're welding all this stuff together, you're doing your best. I believe this machine would run right there. So you know, it's just basically messing around with your motor and each one of your pulleys trying to get them just right, you know. So let's see how this is working now. See, I still don't understand why this down here, this bigger gap here, right in here, than I do up here. I just don't understand it. Now, one more thing that I'm kind of thinking of why, you know, it may be harder to get the belt lined up is I know I'm using a bolt, and this bolt is a 1/2 inch bolt, 13 threads per inch. So the threads are actually pretty far apart. Now, if I was to use a finer thread bolt coming through here, when you tighten this down on here, it has to be off just a little bit because of the thickness of the threads. There's not as many threads. Now, if we was to use maybe a finer thread bolt going through there, we might have a better chance of getting this straighter. Or if I was to take a bolt, let me grab a 1/2 inch bolt. If we was to take a 1/2 inch bolt, say like this bolt here, And then right where our pulley stops, like our wheel up here on the front, right where it stops on there, if we was to take that and reduce the size of this shaft here, and that piece there would rest up against the plate here, maybe with a washer between it, it would be really straight. But I noticed I have a nut on this side and a nut over here, because I didn't want the wheel to be too tight against the bearings. I want this wheel to be just a little bit loose so it's not too tight against the bearings. So if we was to do something like that, almost, if you noticed on a lawnmower, they have a big shaft going through the wheel, then it reduces down to another size, and then you put it in there, and it's going to run truer, because like I said, with this nut on this side and this nut on this side, that being 13 threads per inch, it's got to be off a little bit. So I've actually literally broke the nut loose and spun the nut a little bit each time and tried to get it to run better, but I think that could be part of my problem. I think I come up with a conclusion on this, these belts, trying to get them to run straight. I've been sitting here taking this thing and pinching the belt and pulling it back, and I'm trying to get it lined up on here, and I keep doing this, and then I found out, I think that when I'm pulling it back, I might be pulling the paper. So if I'm pulling the paper, it's actually going to go in the direction that I'm pulling it in. So I put my finger in the center of it and pulled back on it, just like this, and it seems to run a little bit truer. But I think in order for us to get our belts to run really true on here, we need to start the motor up. So until I get my switch and everything set up, I think I'm going to hold off on trying to adjust this, because I think it's a losing battle. I'm not winning here. I have adjusted these in and out and turned everything the best that I can, and I just can't get it going with my hands to see how straight it's going to be. So I think you can see I just pushed that wheel over by just going like that. It pushed the paper over, and the paper is going over further and further. You can see it, but I'm pushing it, you know. But if I just kind of go straight down on it, it seems to run a little bit better. But I think with this motor pulling back here, maybe even if you just spin the wheel, it might be better, because instead of just spin the wheel, maybe, if you want to try to get it lined up. But I'd like to ask a question. Does this belt have to be straight with my machine, or just straight with my rest? Because if it just got to be straight with the rest, then we don't really care how it runs on the machine. So anyhow, I wanted to show you guys what I was working on this grinder. It's pretty much almost done. I just got to put the lock on the tensioner and then do my rest up in the front. Somebody mentioned I needed a bigger rest. I'm going to put a bigger one on this one. So, like I said, now the other one we've been using, this one over here, actually my wife has even been using this one here a lot. And she's been using it with wood. Now there's no tension on the belt. It's loose on there because I got it locked down. But I was just messing with that one a little bit. But she uses that one so much. I told her I thought about selling it and getting some of my money back. But I don't know. We may end up keeping that one too. So now one of the guys on there, Frank, you kind of inspired me to build my own 72-inch sander, and you had a question for me, why was I building two of them? And you know, normally when I build something, the first one's for practice. So and like I said, if I sold the first one, I could make some of my money back that I put into all these, and I might lose on my labor, but I would get the money back that I put into them. Now, if I decide not to sell the other one, what I would do is I would set one up different with different wheels on the front. So I would have, you know, I don't have to keep changing attachments over. I would just have to turn on another sander. So that may be the case with these. I might keep them both. and see how that goes. So, but I'm a hoarder when it comes to tools. I love my tools. If I try not to get rid of any tools or any metal. So I'd like to tell everybody thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe, leave me thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment if you'd like. Try to let me know what you think about lining up the wheel and that switch. I'm going to work on a switch, but I want to get this video posted and see if I can get any help from the viewers. Hey, listen, I appreciate everything you guys tell me, and I do look at all the comments, every single one I look at. So leave me a comment. Till next time.